Hi guys, welcome to my studio. As you can see, I'm starting there with a pre-made background, which I really like. That's in my Canson sketchbook. It's mixed media paper. For the background, first I did watercolor. You can see that there. And then I splattered a little bit of watercolor. And then I used charcoal pencil to kind of circle around the splatters that I made. And then I made, with acrylic paint, I made some lines, some black lines, and some red splatches. Splatches, splatters, whatever you want to call that. I really, really like that background. So I'm doing a landscape, and so I'm sectioning off what I would consider the sky. I really like the background, but I don't want it to show through in the sky. I'd like it to see some history of it in the ground area, but not in the sky. So that's why I am blotting it out with some acrylic paint there. I recently got that on sale at Hobby Lobby. I think that's one of the ones. They were having a 40% off sale. It was awesome. All right, just using the old tape trick there. Washi tape works really well. I'm saving the washi tape for something else. Here I'm showing you, I was actually talking, but I couldn't figure out how to get that into the video, but I made those pages with dictionary paper and Derwent Graphitent. There I'm showing you the Graphitent. It's awesome. And so I'll just show you each of the colors. I did a wash in the background, a light wash, and then with fuller intensity paint, I just made some marks on each of the different ones. I wanted to try it with each of the colors and see how it came out. I was pointing out the Star Trek there. I'm going to use that cloud one. And those are all the different colors that I have there. Now, I didn't, on these got a little messy because I didn't spray them with a matte sealer. I usually do that for my watercolors, but I thought it was going to be okay. But mostly I just got graphite all over myself when I was gluing these down. But it's okay. It didn't harm the piece or anything. So picking out my colors. This collage came together pretty quick and easy compared to some collages that I've done. Sometimes you get lucky like that. Although the pre-made background did help. I do like to pre-make my backgrounds when I'm kind of spent, like I've spent all day being creative, but I still want to work in the studio. I'll just do backgrounds mindlessly as an activity. So it does help when you sit down and you've already got one step kind of done. And sometimes I'll work on my backgrounds, like a pre-made background that I have, I'll work on it more just as still a background exercise. I won't actually get to the subject matter. So sometimes there's several steps involved. Like in this particular one, the background, I did the watercolor, I left it for a while. I thought I was going to draw some checkerboards on it, and then I went back and I did the charcoal and the acrylic paint marks. So it was kind of a background in two stages. I need to figure out how to get more of that cards because that card has seen better days. I think from now on when I go to Walmart for grocery shopping, I'm going to pick up a card, buy it, and then proceed to buy my groceries with it really quickly to get more cards, maybe. I hope they allow that. I don't know. For some reason, I was inspired. YouTube keeps showing me landscapes for some reason, although maybe because I typed that in, I don't know. I've been wanting to do landscapes, but I've also been wanting to do figures, abstract figures. So here I kind of figured I'd combine the two, and that's what I did. That particular piece of collage fodder was made with a homemade cloud stencil. I really like it, just it's very bold and attention getting. And so I'm going to use it in the sky. I thought that's all I was going to use in the sky, just the clouds. The minimalist in me wanted to do just that, but later on in the video you'll see what I ended up doing there additionally. And yeah, you can see Graffy Tint is getting all over my fingers there. Does anybody else have those Graffy Tint watercolors? Those are awesome. I love those. I wasn't really trying to blend the clouds together, but they seem to have blended kind of pretty good, I would say. Not fabulously, but perhaps I should have been more intentional about it. All right, so we're going to work on the focal point area, the ground, as it were. I'm going to do a little bit of painting to diffuse so much of the background, but I do really like that background, and I want to see some of it, so I'm not going to do it everywhere. I'm going to have restraint. I'm pretty proud of myself for the restraint that I had, because usually I'm a more is more kind of person. And that will happen a little bit later, but here I'm doing pretty good with the restraint. I'm not using a brush. In this case I'm using a silicone brush, a color shaper, color mover, whatever they call them. I'm trying to utilize that more. I'm really a brush girl, but I like the interesting textures you can get with the silicone brush. It's all just part of the exploration. So I've got my box in the top left corner. I've got my box of small bits. The bottom container has kind of what I would say the largest of the small bits. And the middle one has the smallest of the small bits, and the top container has sets that I keep that are jelly prints that I really liked, or they go together for future use. So I'm just using from the bottom drawer, I think, the medium pieces. This is where I'm cutting out the very basic, minimal, abstracted figure. I really like that blue piece on the left-hand side of the page and the yellow ochre piece. The yellow ochre, surprisingly, like I said in other videos, I don't know which way they'll air, probably out of order from when I shot them, but I talk about the art being alive and having a mind of its own, and that yellow ochre really ended up playing a pivotal role, surprisingly. We'll get to that in a bit, and I'll talk about it then. Very abstract figures, almost like they're cloaked. We're just seeing the back of them with their cloaks on. I have never been a big figure person at all, but I really like the idea of very suddenly, we all change. I'm working on, that's my 2025 project. Maybe I need to make a video about that, is working on changing my art style. And so that's in my sketchbooks here. That's really what I'm playing with. I'm allowing myself the freedom to play with all sorts of different styles that I've never entertained before. So I'm having a really fun time too. These videos may seem quite eclectic because of that, but that is what's going on in my sketchbooks. And I have, gosh, I only started my sketchbooks like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. I'm using sketchbooks and pads of paper as sketchbooks that I've had forever in my stash. And so 2025 is also the year of using things up. So lots of like little goals coming together for a main goal for me. So yeah, considering this is my first foray into abstract figures, I'm really pleased with the results. Beginner's luck, I think. I want the figures to be big in the foreground and smaller as they go into the background. I think I have a working title for this one as The Long Journey, but I don't know. If you have any good title suggestions, let me know in the comments. When I was doing it, at this point, I was thinking that would be it. I wanted it to be more on the minimal side. Like I said, one of the things I'm trying to introduce into my art is more minimal style. It's hard for me because I'm a more is more kind of gal, I guess. And this could have been a stopping point. Glue those people on and stop, but when I was cleaning up all my little scraps from cutting the people out, I became enamored with those little scraps. And you'll see what happens in just a second with those. This is where the yellow ochre is going to play a pivotal role. I cut it when I was making the yellow ochre guy in the background. When I was making him smaller, I cut off a bit of his head to make it smaller. And when I ran across that piece, I'm like, oh, that's the perfect little moon. So the sky was just going to have a little moon. And then this guy was just going to have some of the other little yellow ochre wisps that came off of the pieces. And then I found other little scraps that became like a little kind of spiky plant in the bottom right corner there that I'm gluing down. And then in the middle, towards the left, there's going to be a spiky tree. I seem to like the spiky plants. It probably is because I come from Arizona where that's what we have. We have spiky plants. So yeah, so is anybody else, and I do that often, I become quite enamored with all the little bitty cast-offs. I'm like, oh, this could be something. Does anybody else do that? But in the end, it's not as minimal as I could have stopped several times along the way, and it would have been fine. I do like where it ended up. That piece sitting off to the side with the three big red dots and some little dots on it, that's also going to be utilized in a surprising way. I thought it was going to utilize it one way, and then bam, it ended up getting utilized in a completely different way. I like how it's hard to see kind of in the video here, but I really like how the yellow ochre, depending on how you look at it, we've got the big person figure at the bottom, we've got the little person figure in the middle, and then we have the yellow ochre in the sky there. So it moves the eye through the picture. I really like how that came out. Another thing, like I said, I really like the blue figure on the left, but a few other moments that I really like in this picture. There's a little bit of that blue in the yellow ochre guy standing next to the blue figure. I like that little tiny section very much. On the middle yellow ochre guy, the little guy, he's got a blob of my background color. Looks like it's a scarf kind of flapping in the wind there on him. You may have to zoom in to see that one, but that's a favorite moment of mine as well. Working on making my spiky little, I don't know, tree bush type thing there. Gluing all those little tiny papers down is a little difficult. They have a mind of their own, and they stick to you, and they stick in the wrong places. But I persisted. I got to use more of that blue color that I really like in the tree, just here and there. It's mostly, you know, from the red and black figures that I have there. And I'm cutting the impossibly tiny pieces into more even impossibly tiny pieces there. And voila, finally, tree is done. I really like those red circles in all of those places that I put them. In the sky, I think they would have distracted from the figures as the main focal point. They would have looked good there. And I think they would have looked good where I'm laying them down, but I was also thinking they might look cool on the tree. And when I placed one on the tree, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. So that came together quite easily. And in a second, we'll do a little hop. I actually ended up, you can see on that white paper, there's more tiny little circles. I ended up cutting those out and putting those on down in the bottom of on the bush, little spiky plant bush thing down there. I could not get my camera to turn on because my fingers were too gluey it wouldn't recognize my fingerprints. So there's a little jump and you won't see that, but you will see when I go into do some outlining on those shapes. I decided I needed one more yellow ochre piece there in the sky. I think the yellow ochre people blend in too much to the background, so I'm going to do a little bit of shading around them to help them pop out a little bit. The other figures pop off the background pretty well, so I don't think that they need anything. As I said in another video, sometimes I think it's overused that people just outline their focal points with a dark color. There I'm using what's called a sketch and wash pencil. It's from Generals. Is that what it's called? Generals? I accidentally stumbled across those when I was teaching. I had ordered, I don't know, like 60 or 100 6B pencils one year from Blick, and they accidentally sent me 100 of these sketch and wash pencils. So I called them and they fixed it. And it took me a while, but I'm like, one day we were working on a long project in some of my classes, and I'm like, we need a break from this. So I gave them all a sketch and wash pencil and a brush and a cup of water, and I threw up some prompts on the projector, and I let them go to town with these, and it became a staple in my classroom because they're like ink tints. They don't look that great when you just put them on the paper, but when you add water to them, they become so intense. It's really cool. I really like them. I also used some charcoal as well, some charcoal pencil. So I'm back and forth there. I'm adding charcoal and I'm taking it away with the water. So you can see where I did add the little tiny circles to the bush at the bottom. I am outlining, because I love outlining. I am trying not to use it too much, but I'm outlining the circles just with they're red, but I'm outlining them with a dark red, just to give them a little tiny punch. It's not terribly attention getting. It's just a tiny little look at me statement, but it doesn't really take away from anything. And sorry, my hair is sticky. This is going to be my video auditioning for aging alfalfa, if he was a female, I guess. I don't know why my hair is sticking up like that. And there we go. It's time for her close-up. It's got a matte finish on it, so I don't know why it's so glossy on the top. Probably just something to do with the lights. But I'll have some better photos here for you at the end. Close-up edited photos that show the true colors. And I thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Live long and prosper.